Well, today you join me here at Gold Valley on the Middle Lake, and today I'm going to be showing you the importance of feeding and fishing 2 lines on a feeder. The lake that I'm on today, Middle Lake, is heavily stocked with F1s, small carp and a few fish up to 15 pounds. And I do expect to get quite a lot of bites. But what I'm going to show you today is how I go about catching fish at the start of a session, at distance towards the middle of the rope, and then hopefully later on as the fish come in, like they do in a lot of match scenarios or practice or pleasure fishing days, the fish will come in towards the end of the session. I'm going to be fishing another feeder line just past pole distance, around 16-17 metres, where I'm going to look for a real good finish to the session. It's a way of fishing that, you know, can play a massive part, especially when the weather's against you, strong winds. Today we haven't got much wind, and yes, you would catch a few fish on the pole. But the importance of feeder fishing is getting more and more and more. There's more and more feeder matches, and like I say, in England you are quite often faced with the adverse weather conditions, which obviously play into the hands of feeder fishing. I've prepared the bait. I know we're going to get a few bites, and what it's about at the moment is just starting at distance to the rope, catch a few fish, put them together. Meanwhile, I'm going to be having an odd cast on the short line just to put some bait in between casts on the further line and look for a real good finish. The two differences: I'm going to be fishing a small method type feeder towards the rope with pellets and a small boilie hook bait. I've got a multitude of different colours from the Advantage bait range. And then on the short line, I'm going to be fishing a conventional feeder with a nice short tail and double maggot. Like I say, there's a big head of fish in here. I can't wait. The bait's all prepared and the tackle's all set up. I think it's time to go and have a bit of a fish. There we are, first cast. What I don't want to do is just leave it out there and wait. A little bit like when we're fishing the pole, I want to be casting in and out, not just creating noise, but creating a little bit of a bed of bait. There we go, there's one first cast, small carp or an F1. Really do fight well. Only small, but again, like I said at the start, that's what this session's about, catching a number of fish on a feeder. Clipped up about 3 metres short of the middle. That just stops anyone encroaching from the far bank. If it was a match and you're catching well, the guy opposite you hasn't started on a feeder, and then he changes to the feeder. Obviously, if you're fishing too near the middle, he can cast virtually right on top of you and end up spooking your fish. So always start slightly short of middle. Not only that, if it is a very difficult day, it'll give you somewhere to go. You can go a little bit further and maybe even get another run of fish. So there we go, we're catching a few fish now, and it's important to be fast and efficient when you're catching a number of fish. It's a little bit different when you go to these bigger venues where you're looking for a handful of bites in a 5-hour match. Venues like this, you're probably looking for 100 fish, even when you're fishing a feeder. So speed of baiting up, casting out, and speed of bite is obviously of utmost importance. And with the Advantage pellets, it's just a case of filling not really pressing them in because I want them all to come out. Holding your hook bait over the field feeder, and then just with your thumb and two thumbs and finger, just create that sort of pyramid of bait and take your fingers away, and that's absolutely perfect. What you're going to get there is a little bit of bait coming off on impact when your feeder lands, just to get a little bit of spread, but the majority of the bait on that feed is going to go down. And like I say with the Advantage bait, it's not just the pellets or the ground bait, but all of it, it breaks up very, very quick. So that's going to hit the bottom, break up, and create the perfect little trap to catch these carp. Let's get it out there. There we go, biggest fish of the session so far, probably around about £3. We've got some fish going out there. It does seem like they're feeding today, so what I'm going to do on that short line is start introducing a little bit of bait and look to really catch well there late on in the session. As with all fishing, it's important to have the right tools for the right job, and feeder fishing is definitely one of those. Today we're not fishing that far, and the two rods that I've set up for today's session, they're both Raison Z method feeder rods. The only difference is one's 11 foot, one's 10. A little bit different here at Gold Valley. Even though it is a commercial fishery, you still need to cast a little way, so you still do need that 11 foot just to get you that distance. I'm using £10 Daiwa ST main line for that durability factor. I don't want it to break. I want to be able to catch over 100 fish easily on it, and it's not going to let me down. It's a two-piece rod, and it comes with 2 or 3 different tips, coupled again with the Raison 6000 reel. You've seen the setup. This is the rod that we've caught really well on this morning. Just a small hybrid feeder, short hook length, and a small bottom bait, one of the krill ones from Advantage baits. The second rod that I've set up for today's session, identical rod but 10 foot, slightly smaller reel, the 5000 reel. Always match your reels to your rods and vice versa. You don't want a massively long rod with a tiny reel, and likewise you don't want a very short rod with, you know, a massive reel. Short rods again, I'm a massive fan, especially when you're catching fish quick and you're netting the fish. They come up very close to you, just enable you to really speed the whole process up. And when it's about catching a large number of fish, the more efficient you can be, you're definitely going to catch more. The setup's slightly different. I've got the Raison ground bait feeder to the Raison feeder bead. Fantastic bit of kit, it cuts out all the spin in the rig. Absolutely brilliant when you're catching lots of fish. Small bit of power gum, which I'm a massive fan of. It just takes away that shock of the bites when you're fishing at close range. 014 tournament rig line. Again, it's a line that I find myself using more and more. And the hook is a size 16 Gamma Power. I'm going to be fishing double maggot on this, hopefully catching those small carp and F1s. So I'm going to get in on that line and try and catch a few fish. Well, we've reached the end of the session, and to say it's been hectic would probably be a bit of an understatement. The water's warm and the fish are really up for it, and we had a bite that very first cast. Kept putting an odd little bit of bait short at about 17-18 metres and went on to the normal feeder, and it was absolutely ridiculous. I've more than hit my target of over 100 fish. Really enjoyable. I'm going to get the gear away now and have a look at some of the fish that we've caught.